So, recording in progress. Hello, everybody, and a warm welcome from me. And indeed, I'll be talking about building a bike, which is a kind of unusual thing for a university to do. And so we thought it might be a good idea to share it here. You have a picture of what I'm talking about here on my very first slide, and I'll show you now um, run shortly through what I'll be talking about. So Joachim has asked me to put a huge impact on why the hell did we build a bike? Yes, I'll tell you. It's to do a lot with what I'm doing at the university, so I will have to explain a bit about that before you understand why we actually came up with the idea of building a bike. I will then shortly give you an impression of construction ideas. I won't ponder too long on that. If you are interested in that, we can chat about it later on. As well, we are absolutely open for everybody who is interested in actually building a bike. Her or himself or the institution. We share everything we got, just have to ask. Right, and in the end, I'll give you kind of a future picture. Where are we going to? Right, so let's start making impact. Now, um, impact, or what we would call transfer, stems originally from what can be called science and technology transfer. So it's rather more located in the natural sciences, the hard sciences, the engineering departments, and so on and so forth. And it used to be about the cooperation of academic learning with companies, basically. And in Germany, it was in 2015 when politics actually put pressure upon academia and said, well, look, we have here a couple of problems. At that point, we had the so-called refugee crisis, which at that point we were already very happy as a society to try to solve, which is in strict difference to what is happening now. At that point, actually, politics was addressing academia and saying, what are you doing? How's your engagement? That is completely different in Anglo-Saxon universities, and in the American system, we have a longer experience in that. But in Germany, it actually appeared around the year 2015, and the University of Konstanz was very quick and started up in 2017 with a team, Transfer in Teaching, and that is me and my colleague Sibylle Mühleisen. And now transferring something that comes from research, that comes from the university to all disciplines and to actually academic teaching, that is not simple. And we had at the beginning no idea what to do, and nobody told us what to do. So we had to invent what transfer in teaching has to mean. And this is now what I'd like to show you in the next slide, how we came up with an idea we are ever since working upon. So we thought it doesn't make much sense if we select projects from methodical reflections, like, for example, you might know problem-based learning, you might know all types of third mission activities like social engagement, like service learning in particular. But we wanted to have a very broad understanding of cooperation within teaching process projects with external partners. So we said a rather meager functional definition would work with us quite well. And so you see in the middle of this little diagram, actually three bulbs, that is teaching staff, students, and non-academic partners. And what we are interested in bringing these three actors together, and by bringing them together, create a field that I called uncharted territory, because it is not in existence if these three partners don't work with each other. And this is actually what interests us. We are interested in building something new that you would not be able to create without bringing these partners together. So, and of course, this is not an insular solution, but it's part of the whole university structure. So if you put, now you have the bulbs moved into a triangular shape, and you see research, teaching, and societal impact as the three fields that are like addressed. Teaching staff is usually, not always, but usually the research staff as well. Students profit from teaching, and non-academic partners are actually the locus, the place where societal impact happens. So, as you can see, within this diagram, the dynamics in between the three partners make molded into a kind of cyclical idea, where actually teaching, research, and societal impact comes together. Now we're getting closer. We're getting closer, because one of the problems in transfer, be it in research or be it in teaching, is how to reach an audience. First of all, the cooperation partners are usually no problem at all. You just find them directly, and usually in teaching, it's like partners from civil society who have a very intrinsic interest in working with academic partners. So cooperation partners, no problem. Interested public, well, it is already in the word itself, the public which is interested. They will come if you make an exhibition, if you make a lecture series, if you do something in public, they will actually come. A general public is, depending on the format, not so difficult to reach as well. It's a bit more difficult. You have to put in a bit more of advertising effort and so on. But the real hard thing is how to actually address the disinterested public. Why should we do that? If somebody's disinterested, well, why don't we just give a shit and say, we're not interested, you're not interested, so there's nothing in between. But I believe that specifically in our situation, our political and societal situation right now, it is absolutely mandatory to reach as far into society as possible, to reach people who would never think that academia is for them as well, that academic research, academic teaching, academic learning is something they have anything to do with. Why is that important? Because I believe if we give up the idea that, or the shared idea that there is a generally accepted way of generating truth, then we actually have a huge problem, and we already have that. So you have to go at places where academia is usually not present. And now, how do you do that? We thought first about building a kiosk. We thought that was a good idea. We actually had people who wanted to go with us, saying, hey, a kiosk would be a great idea. You can just meet people, you share coffee, you sit there. We actually have something in Konstanz called the Kulturkiosk, cultural kiosk, and that's a quite vivid meeting place for people having a coffee, having a chat, and quite different audiences meeting. But first of all, if you build actually a building, it is expensive, it is static, it is inflexible. You have constantly to put in money. And then there is another thing which troubled us a lot, a kiosk design. That is to say, a place that is stable and will be designed once and for all, tends to invite bubbles and exclude others not being part of the bubble. Why is that? Well, for building, you have to decide how your place should look like. And by this decision, you actually invite and exclude. If you put on a signpost, vegans welcome, there is a part of our society that will feel immediately not welcome because they say, oh, this is obviously only for. You're not saying that. And I'm not saying that. But if you put up a signpost like that, it actually ends up by excluding parts that you might be interested in. So we thought on and we came up with the idea, why don't we build something mobile? As you can see here from pictures from Pakistan and from India, people all over the world carry everything on bikes. It's very easy, it's cheap, it's flexible, and you basically need your muscle power. So, and it can be, as even these two images show, very diverse what you can do with a bike. So we thought building a cargo bike, having actually our workshop place as a trailer behind our bike, that would be great, wouldn't it? And make it modular that you can have different, can create different situations. You have not one situation, but you have flexible situations. You have all your stuff with you, you just carry it onto your bike. So this was basically our idea. And you see here as my last point on this slide, improvisation as a positive quality. And so before actually going into the bike, I will talk a tiny bit about improvisation. So on the importance of improvising. I have a definition here. I will read it for you. Improvisation is the activity of making or doing something not planned beforehand, using whatever can be found. The origin of the word itself is, well, how could it be different? Latin improvius, which literally means unforeseen. Improvisation is in the performing arts a very spontaneous performance without specific or scripted preparation. I took that from Wikipedia because it's serving our purpose quite well. I've done quite a lot of theatrical improvisation, and there are two rules. The first rule, always accept all suggestions. It just doesn't work. You go with somebody onto a stage and you start doing something, picking up the spectacles and say, hey, hello, I have spectacles here. And the person beneath you doesn't pick up the spectacles and saying, oh, this is wonderful, Albert, you have spectacles, let me look through them, but says, oh, that is nice that you have spectacles, but I have a phone here. Well, doesn't show up. So you see, no flow actually starts to begin if you reject a suggestion coming from. You can mold it into something different. You can say, For example, if you want to do absolutely something with your phone, you can, for example, pick up the spectacles and say, "Oh, that is a very practical idea because I forgot mine and I absolutely want to look up my phone." So, which is a very easy way to walk from one object to another. So it's important to accept all suggestions. And then there is a main design rule. Don't try to make it perfect. Embrace whatever is imperfect. This is something like a sentence of belief for my work in teaching. It's like a life rule as well. I will tell you a little story from uh, my time as Erasmus student in Northern Ireland. It's a long time ago. I'm a pretty old guy. And that was in 1992. And in Derry, I came to a place called the Playhouse Derry, which was a former nun school, and that was turned into some kind of community center, cultural center. And they didn't have much money, so they started from scratch, and they needed all kind of support they could get. So what they built up was one main hall where three things were always there. First of all, there was always a cup of coffee. You could just come in, grab a coffee. Second, there was always a plate of scones. So have a coffee, have a scone, sit down, rest. And then surrounding that, well, you actually sat on boxes. There were no chairs. A box can be a table and a chair. So much better than having chairs and tables. So you can do more with it. And then there were shelves all around, large industrial metal shelves full with stuff, wood, paint, textiles, yogurt, these the boxes, and so on and so forth. They were collected from little shopkeepers, companies that with local attachments. They gave it to them, and it was to give it away to groups who wanted to do something, like a kindergarten want to work with some stuff, want to put up a theater performance, or just building something for Christmas or whatever. They could just come and get stuff from there, and then people would sit there having a coffee, and then of course chats will begin, the most improbable chats. I'm giving, and then I'm moving on. I'm giving you the last anecdote from that period of my life, which actually nowadays I regard it as the start of what I'm doing now. Umberto Eco was visiting the Playhouse. Uh, The boss of the Playhouse, Pauline Ross, she had a really, really broad worldwide network, and she held the conviction that actually to get out of this Irish struggle and this civil war and whatever was on there, you need to open up to get people in. And now Umberto Eco was there. I didn't know. I just came in, saw him sitting there. Of course, I knew him. Was easy to recognize him. And I was sitting there with an old Irish lady with a lot of plastic bags, who obviously didn't know who Umberto Eco was. And they were chatting together, having a coffee in this improvised place. I am sure that this conversation would have never taken place if this was a perfect, polished place. If this was something where you had the impression, Oh, I will be the one with my dirty boots to actually make a mess of it. So this actually made me going. Now, benefits of improvisation. It's what I said. It's inviting, it's inclusive, it's participatory, it's interactive, it's easy, it's light, comic, and it's highly creative. So now, coming to the how. First of all, you need money. If you have an idea, you always need some money to build it, especially if you want to build a prototypical um, bike. And we got the money from the Wissenschaftsverbund. That is actually a network around the Lake Constance that is funding projects like that. And we got money from an institution from the university, which is called the Forum Konstanz. It's like a central meeting place. Um, And we connected three partners, the universities of the region. That's the University of Konstanz, that is the Konstanz Polytechnic, the Hochschule Konstanz, HTWG, and the Pedagogical University, the Pädagogische Hochschule Thurgau, that is in Switzerland. So why did we have the three partners? First of all, if you work with the Wissenschaftsverbund network, you need partners from two different countries neighboring Lake Constance. So Switzerland and Germany, that worked quite well. Um, but then you need um, different types of knowledge. As a university, we had the idea, we had the project lead, and we had a quite well working crafting workshop that can build anything. We have crafts at the university who actually can build stuff. But of course, they need a construction plan. That's what we cannot do. So we found a professor from the Konstanz Polytechnic, Michael Fröhlich, and he actually said, okay, I'm going for the construction and development because he did already build a bike with students before for a different purpose and so on. But he had experience in the field. And then, of course, you want to think about the usage of the bike. So pedagogical knowledge is quite valid in that. So for the pedagogical and didactic ideas, the pedagogical school in Thurgau came in. Now we started the brainstorming. What do we want? We want to reach variable audiences. We want to do exhibitions. It has to be light and stable. Oh, the costs, maintenance costs have to be low and low effort. Electricity should be on board so you could carry a coffee machine with you. I already told you about the importance of having a coffee together. Oh, and then there's another difficulty. It should be allowed to use it in the streets in Germany and Switzerland. We need space for having materials. We need to reach schools. So you see, we had a lot of ideas. I just give you a short impression. We did a long brainstorming, and then we tried to come up with building ideas, and that's what finally resulted in it. What you can see is there is, do you see the cursor, Joachim? This is to be seen? Okay, so you see, we actually decided not to build the lower part, which is actually the trailer itself, because you can just buy that and then adapt it. In our case, we needed to have the axis farther. Usually it is about here. We need it farther to the back because otherwise the bike would start to shake. It is all in all 250 kilograms that we are transporting here. Then we would build a body that actually has here, there is a battery with electricity generated by solar electricity, solar panels, which you can actually see here. And here they are lying folded up onto the bike, which gives you enough electricity for 24 hours. The solar panels, we decided every part of the bike should have not only a construction reason, but should have actually something to it that you can use. So we said, okay, there's a back to the panels. We can make a whiteboard out of it. So we actually glued whiteboard stuff, which is not only for whiteboards, but it's magnetic as well, onto the back of the solar panels. Build a frame so that you can push it to the back of the bike. Then we said it would be nice to have some kind of adaptable space. So we built up 2 foldable tables. You can actually put them off and locate them somewhere else. So you have a different situation, but you can build situations by just folding them out of the main body. Here you can see the red and gray stuff that are boxes with material that you can carry in. And then here in the back, you can see that now there is a large tent. It's actually really large. It's 4 to 6 meters, the whole tent. So you can build various situations and scenarios with the bike, actually. So this is what we came up with. And we had to think of another thing. This trailer is not allowed to be used in Switzerland. So I will show you on a later slide. Switzerland says, and they are technically quite right, once you put something on a trailer that is heavier than yourself, the trailer tends to become shaky. And definitely this is a lot heavier than most people that would sit. It's 250 kilograms, and bikes are designed for let's put it 80 kilograms. So 80 would be allowed in Switzerland. But let me just go back. If you do this would be allowed in Switzerland because it's carried on one bike. Because they say, well, look, if this guy starts to shake, he will feel it immediately and he will hopefully push his brakes and come to a standstill. So, so we said, okay, rather than just having a trailer, we bought another bike, a second bike with a tricycle. Then you can put it all onto one bike, and it's allowed in Switzerland. All right, moving on. Using the bike, Joachim has been present at this event. This is actually an EUniWell course on food security. And what you can see is situations created with the bike. You can see here a polished surface of the bike, stuff standing on attached to it. Here you have, and you can see as well the tables that are used there. I think this has not been our pavilion because the tent we have is much larger than the one that's to be seen here, and that was not allowed at this spot in the city of Konstanz. But you can see quite a lot of students working here, mostly those with white t-shirts here standing around. That were the participants of the workshop. And they actually used it as a mobile exhibition place and as a place to present whatever they have worked through in their seminar, and that was mainly an idea coming from Cologne. It's called craftivism, and they actually knitted. I think they knitted it. I'm not too good in handcrafting. So all this fruit that were so once you actually engaged as a member of the public within this exhibition, looked through it, you were allowed afterwards to carry, say, a carrot or a knitted tomato with you. So it was a quite nice um, moment. I show you a different one. Here you can see our tent, which is pretty large, and you can see Alex. This is our guy from Switzerland. And he and as well you can see our tricycle, which is standing here. This is at the Makers Day at the Pedagogical School in Thurgau, Switzerland, and it wasn't there was a lot more audience, but I picked these two that you can see what we actually did here. In the background, you can see posters, and I think I have another slide giving you a better impression. What the Swiss university did is they developed boxes with different materials and with different didactical concepts. And you can get a blend of these boxes. You can see this is about creativity. There's another about sustainability. There's one about future ideas, how to live future in the future together. There's educational making and so on and so forth. And it's addressed to school kids. It's actually they built boxes for 4-year-olds, 8-year-olds, and 12-year-olds. So you can nowadays get a land of it. So, and I'm a bit over time, but I come to a close. I give you our last idea, but I have to plug in my computer, otherwise I'll be gone in a second. All right, here I am back again. Now, this is our latest idea, what to do with the bike. We actually thought the bike would be a nice way to present stuff as well, to give actually a lecture, for example, in a public place, on a marketplace or something like that. But then we discovered, well, we could have known that before, but we didn't, that actually video projectors that you can finance. There are ones that are very expensive that don't have that problem. You can't really use them in broad daylight in different public situations. So we thought, okay, how do we actually help our teachers and researchers to present their stuff? And we came up with the idea of the cranky. You have two it's like a paper scroll theater. You have two images which were done in another EUniWell course. The Apple is a Migrant too. That was one of my courses, and it ended up with students building actually a 6-meter scroll of presenting their journey through the seminar. And you can see it's very easy. It's like a scroll of paper. You put it on two rolls, and you can roll it up, and then everybody can see what's on it. And here's now this was a very improvised version of paper scroll theater, and this is now the planned version for the bike. You can see it, put it up here, and of course our professor from construction had a lot of ideas, for example, saying, okay, why don't we put in 2 more rolls for the paper scroll so that the paper runs immediately in front of our whiteboard, so that you cannot just show something, but yet that you can write on it, that you have kind of an endless blackboard. Because endless, well, it's not endless, but if you buy paper rolls, they're usually 340 meters in length, so you can have a quite lengthy discussion. All right, so now where to? This is the bike with all its components that you can get a land of. We have the hope that a lot of people will get a land of the bike. At the minute, it is reserved for the 3 universities in Kreuzlingen and Konstanz. But everybody, irrespective of the status, so be it a professor, a member of staff, or a student, can get a land of the bike. We have an online booking system, and you can put in what you need of the bike and what kind of support you need. So we hope that we actually get a lot of people using the bike. And as well, we want to go on. We have a lot of ideas how to improve the bike, how to develop new concepts. But our next ideas is actually to get it in a broad way of usage. And it's ready to do that now. So at this point, I think I'll leave it off. I'll thank you all for your attention. And I'm ready now to answer questions.